We're here and we're following Omi and VeVe because we're either here as collectors or here as crypto investors, or possibly both. Of all the projects in crypto, Omi is one of our favorites, which is why we started this show. We believe that Akomi and VeVe are special. Now, I'm grateful to have the chance to put this together with such amazing co-hosts, Doctor of Stuff and the real Randy Chavez. Now, Doctor of Stuff has some family stuff today, so he's handling stuff. The real Randy Chavez joins us, as well as today we have a special guest, Crypto Cosmo, joining us for his first appearance on video. So this is a special first appearance moment. I was saying, boy, if this were an NFT in the future, this would be worth billions. A bit about Cosmo. He got into crypto as early as 2007. But it was in 2021 when he started to really dive deep into crypto. He's invested in over 150 Web3 projects. His journey into Omi and VeVe started late August 2021, which I know is earlier than some people here, but later than many of us. He does have a VeVe gold logo, multiple secret rare Akomi logos, and has been a master collector since the rankings came out. Well, if you haven't already, what are you doing? Make it rain on that like button. Help me welcome my co-host, Randy Chavez. What is up, Randy?
Hi, everyone. How's it going?
It's been so long. I feel like I haven't seen you in ages.
What's it been, 24 hours?
Yeah. Randy and I and some of the VeVe family were out causing trouble in Arizona. Arizona didn't burn down. That's the positive. But it almost did.
We thankfully we had some other stuff there to put out the fires that we were starting.
Yeah, we had a number of responsible people around us. That was great. That really helped.
Turn them irresponsible. Trying to get them the, I think 2 secret rare logos were bought when we were down there.
Yes, they were. Yes, and we're trying to get Rudy I'm personally trying to get Rudy some exposure on his picture that we did together because I think it's awesome and I want him to win the competition. So if you haven't already, go to my Twitter and you'll see that I reposted this thing. So that's Namecoast on Twitter. Like his thing, because part of the metrics for this competition is how much traction someone gets. So obviously I'm biased because I helped him with it. Let's go ahead and bring on our special guest today for his first appearance on YouTube. What is going on, Cosmo?
Hey, what is going on, Rain? Randy, good to see you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's so good to have you joining us for first appearance.
Yeah, I like your VeVe hat in the background.
What's that?
Yeah, your VeVe hat.
Oh, yeah, man. Yeah, VeVe Gold logo. So I had to get one in the glass display.
You got to grab it and show everyone so they can see it.
Well, I got a second one here that I can make sure. You know what I'm saying? One stays in the case at all times. This one is just for going out and about. So happy to have this. Love it.
Smart. Now, you're also in the secret rare logo group for Akomi. How many of those did you pick up?
So me and my wife had the Omi to get one each, and then I've picked up a couple more off the market. I'm planning on swapping one of those out. I found the one on the market that matched my VeVe Gold logo mint number, so had to get that one, and then planning on swapping one of my other ones out to replace it. So yeah, so I'll have 3 total, I guess, between me and my wife after we sell that one. Yeah.
Nice. Yes, he did call me and he did tell me to buy another secret rare logo when they were at 800 gems. And of course, I waited till they were like 1,400, 1,500 gems. That's kind of the way it sometimes works out.
You know what, though? I was the same way when they were 400. I was like, oh, should I scoop them up? I was like trying to figure out. And then they hopped up to 800. I was like, what am I thinking? So, yeah, grabbed one, grabbed another one. And, yeah, so I'm with you a little bit, too. I was a little bit lagging.
Yeah, kind of the effect, like we didn't know how much when they first came out. I was like, oh, this is cool. But like how much utility is there going to be? It wasn't really clear at first. And as it became more clear, the amount of effort that was going to be put into utility behind it to make things fun, well, then the value kept rising because then more people scooped them up. We had some people joining in, right? Not long after we posted this. Truck and Hank said, looking forward to this one. Cronor says, hello, guys. G-Flow has a good question. Do we think 10 cents is possible this bull cycle? I mean, since this is a first appearance of Crypto Cosmo, I think we should get his opinion on this. What do you think, Randy?
Yeah, agreed. I'm curious to see what new perspectives he shares.
Yeah, so I mean, I've kind of been saying for a little while that I saw 5 cents as kind of being where I saw it getting towards the top of the bull run this cycle. And as I started seeing them release some of the major brands like Funko, like a little while back, right, the Lamborghini partnership, and then just as they've started to roll out some of the features of OMI this year, and they have a huge focus on it, as David has mentioned. I just love where it's going, and I do think 10 cents is definitely possible, honestly. I do think that some things have to line up correctly to do that, but I think it's definitely possible.
So we wouldn't bring anyone on here unless they had some meaningful things to contribute. Obviously, everyone has an opinion, but yours obviously much more well-informed than just the average Joe, the average person. Can you tell us a little bit about how you got into crypto, what makes you successful in it, and a little bit more?
Yeah, so it started like Rain was saying in 2017. He'd actually talked to me about crypto and was like, hey, like maybe you should look into this. And I knew nothing about it. I'd heard about it, of course. And so I was like, hey, I'll throw a few grand onto this Coinbase app, buy some Bitcoin, some Litecoin, some of this Ethereum. And I'm watching it like used to just investing in stocks, and the price is just going up and down all the time. And I'm like, what is going on with this? Like, knew nothing about it. After about a week, I was like, this is just a little bit too crazy. I have no idea like what's going to happen. Sold out of it. Didn't look at crypto again really for another few years. And Rain comes back in 2021. He's like, I really think you should take a deeper look into crypto. And I'm just like, I don't know. And so another buddy of ours starts talking about VeVe some more, because Rain and Doc had actually talked to me about VeVe. And I was like, okay, I mean, that sounds kind of interesting. Don't know like why you have to buy these things. But they convinced me to buy the first Marvel #1 comic off the drop is when I first downloaded it, and it landed a common club gang. And from there, it just started to ignite this like exploratory mode where I was just like wondering what these NFTs were about, what other projects were about. I was hearing about Bored Ape Yacht Club, I was hearing about some others. I had bought some network NFTs and land, which introduced me to some whitelists for some different NFT projects, Walker World and Angry Ape Army. And I ended up making some pretty good money off of those. And I was just like, dude, this is wild to me. And from there, I just started looking into crypto tokens. I looked into OMI. I bought some OMI in 2021. And I just started trading from there and just investing. And so it just took me down the rabbit hole. I've just been involved in various projects, and I'm just loving it. I love the technology where it's going. I love the vision that VeVe is bringing to the table, especially in Web3. They're doing so much more than most projects out there, and we can talk more about that. But yeah, I love where things are headed just with the whole crypto space in general.
Diving more deep into that, what specifically do you like about what VeVe is doing? Because there's all kinds of companies out there trying to get intellectual property and all kinds of NFT projects. What makes VeVe or Komi any different?
Yeah, so interestingly enough, I was listening to Zuckerberg's sister Randy Zuckerberg had an NFT project, and love the Zuckerbergs or hate them or whatever like that. They do know a few things about how to build a tech company. So I was just kind of listening to her, and she was saying that there's 3 important things that are kind of needed for an NFT project. And the first and foremost is they need to be able to have the financial runway to last for 4 years after the bull market ends, because everything is going to just dive down to the basement, right, price wise. So they need to have financial runway to keep building during that time. And that stuck with me. And we've seen it. So many NFT projects have completely just gotten decimated and have even gone out of business, Recur being one of them, right? But then another thing that is crucial is having a passionate community. So that's number 2. And then the third thing is just having a strong team behind it that's getting things done. And yeah, I get that VeVe has made mistakes. They've made announcements that haven't come out along the way. But those three things, I see VeVe they've got it in spades. And so just being able to be as profitable, I don't know of any NFT company or any NFT project out there. I don't even know of really any crypto company in general that has been as strong revenue wise as VeVe has since the last bull run. I mean, I'm talking about projects that aren't relying on VC money coming in, right? Like actual business operations. So their financials have been powerful during this bear market. The team is strong. Like some people have beef with the team and how they produce things. But the way I see it is I believe that the vision has continued to grow and grow over time as they've continued to onboard more and more partners. And with that, as you get bigger and bigger partners, comes a change in how those partners want the team to communicate those ideas, right? There's non-disclosure agreements. All of a sudden, like these bigger and bigger plans can't be divulged on the timelines that they had originally hoped that they could. And this happens, not just with VeVe, but I'm involved in other NFT projects where they're experiencing the same thing, where the vision has gotten much bigger. It's gotten far more expansive, and they can't communicate quite as much as they could on the plans. And so the community is kind of left hanging like, hey, can you give us stuff? And they're like, we're going to. And they've slowly been releasing plans, and it's far bigger than it was at the beginning with some of these other projects I'm in. And I see the same thing with VeVe.
Agreed. I think that reminds me of a quote by Hawkgirl from Justice League, where she says, people tend to remember their friends and loved ones as they once were, forgetting that they do change. So you do have a couple of people here in the VeVe community that are kind of OGs, and they remember when David and Dan would be in Telegram, and they remember them saying, hey, this is what we want to do. And they could talk to them. And as the company grows, as people do, they grow and they get bigger and they have less time, and they can't do certain things the way they did anymore. Because again, that landscape evolves, you have NDAs. And unfortunately, I think people just are in this fishbowl of, oh, well, we had this X amount of years ago. Why don't we have this, anymore? And that's why they're always asking for community updates. And that gets really hard for people to understand.
Yeah, fair point. I love it how Randy has all these quotes from like Marvel Universe and other comics. Spent half a week with him, and it was so funny because he was always pulling out like quotes from everywhere. It was fun. Do you remember this? I don't. No, but they said this. Cool. I believe you. I don't know.
My pop culture references were wasted on that group.
They're a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. I had a blast with you, Randy. Yeah. So Cosmo, so you're still in VeVe. You're at master collector status still, even after they decreased it to what? Only 1% of master collector. How many? I'm curious how many points per day you're earning.
Yeah, I mean, it's far from what some of these whales are pulling in. I think I'm around like 3,300 or so points per day. And some of it's just like having multiples of certain comics, right? Like I bought a bunch of the like Marvel comic #1s, MC #1s, Fantastic Four #1s, Spider-Man #1s. I've got, I don't know, like 10 or so of the amazing AF-15s. And then just some of the like NFTs that I was more interested in. I bought a few partner statues and things like that. But I've done a little bit of just kind of buying things I really wanted and then buying sets to try to maximize some points as well. So yeah, I mean, it's been fun. Like it's engaged me, and it's totally just driven me down this rabbit hole and made me into a collector of things that I never even imagined myself, honestly. Like I haven't been big into collecting like in my life. I've got a few things, like you can kind of see Pele jersey, signed Pele jersey in the background. I've got one of Messi on the other side. And there's just been a couple of things like that I've been like, I wanted to have from the physical side, because I just personally didn't really like the idea of like the space that collecting physical things takes. And the people that don't mind, or they buy their warehouses, I'm all for them doing that, right? So when digital collecting came out and there is scarcity and there's a verified way to prove that this is yours and it belongs to this IP, I was like, this is it, man. This is awesome. Like this makes so much more sense for me, someone like me that doesn't want to have things take up space, but wants to be able to have ownership of them. And I love where it's going to go as well, because for me, I see it as a big part of just the culture in the future, whereas the digital age continues to roll out and you've got the AR and the VR continuing to become more and more part of everyday life, people are going to want to take those like opportunities to flex some of these digital things that they have once things start to sync up, where people can see what you've got, you can see what they've got from their house and your house. Like, it's going to get to a point where people are going to want to show off those things, you know, where they're at, whether in their space or even when they're out and about.
Do you ever go into like the lore of some of them? Like, it was like, oh, these little Kryptkins are cute, and then you say like, oh, what is Mothman about? And then you find out that they're the wingspan of 10 feet, and they're really known in like West Virginia, or like make headcanons of them.
I have not delved into the Kryptkins. No, I haven't gotten too much into lore in general. I'll tell you one of the things I have gotten into more of, though, is like, as I've bought the comics, I don't recall ever reading a single comic growing up. Like, maybe that outs me as like a true collector, like VeVe, like maybe I shouldn't even participate saying that. But honestly, as I started buying these comics, I was like, you know what? Like, I kind of want to know what this is about. I watched all the cartoons, like X-Men 97, like all that stuff. I watched X-Men and some of those cartoons growing up, all the Marvel movies, and just know like the general like storyline of everything. I collected the cards growing up, but the comics I never actually read. So it's been fun just reading what those are and just understanding what the specifics of what they said. So that's been fun getting into.
Yeah, so we have another person like myself that really didn't collect any comics until collecting VeVe, and then it got me into comics, which is funny how it's bringing even like I bought my first comic ever like at NFT NYC and never owned a physical comic prior to that. So it was after VeVe got me into comics. So it's actually converting people to comic collecting. It hasn't yet brought over the masses of comic book collectors to digital, but that just comes with the awareness wave that happens, or the cascade awareness, as Bitcoin is coming up. We had a really interesting comment here. Let me go. Eddie Almeida said, Rain, could you please Google Bitcoin value days destroyed for the audience? Long-term holders are distributing. It's almost alt season. Let me share with you a little bit what he's talking about. All right, so this is value days destroyed. And you see, since the history of Bitcoin, you see these red spikes. And essentially, Bitcoin usually kind of leads the way. And then sometimes the money bleeds into other things like altcoins. So you see in 2013, 2014, it kind of happened twice. It happened 3 times during this run. Twice during this one. It actually happened when Bitcoin really started running up November. And then it bled into some altcoins, with the bigger one happening in March. And then we see 2024 when we had the big run up in Bitcoin and then it pulling back. Some of that bled into altcoins. I wouldn't be surprised if we have 2 or 3 peaks like that going up. Is some of it bleeding into altcoins right now? A little bit. We're still very early in this run. A lot of it hasn't happened yet. We've just had a little bit of awareness going into Bitcoin as the price has gotten higher. But then we just had the halving. Prices almost always drop off after the halving, and then it kind of cools down historically for like 4 or 5 months. But it seems like every cycle, the cool down period is a little bit less. So, you know, we could be nice and like trading sideways or downwards for 2 or 3 months, or maybe it'd be 4 or 5 months, could be even less. But that's what he was referring to. I personally don't invest a lot in Bitcoin. I tried to do that last cycle where I'd held half in Bitcoin. I was going to wait till Bitcoin took off and then roll that into alts to leverage my money. And the main alt I would have bought with it ran at the same time Bitcoin did and ended up like outpacing it by like 10x. And so my little strategy didn't work as well as I was hoping it would. Great comment there. Just catching up on some comments. Nurse Cooper says, Rain fam. Hey, gents. Hey, fam. Let's go. Foster Hill in the house. Foster, welcome.
Sure. All right.
Chuchuro says, anyone in Sydney who can teach me in person how to move OMI from Ascendex to VeVe? I'm too new for this, so I've had many failed transactions. Anyone in Sydney, I guess, that lives somewhat close, maybe you can reach out to Churu.
Jordan Rees. He lives in Australia. I don't know how close he is to Sydney.
I don't know, but Australia is huge, so it may not be very close.
No.
Bill Gardner in the house. What's up,
What up,
brother?
My heckin' man. Love that.
All
dude.
right. Cool Mo asks, anyone thoughts on the new website to keep eyeballing that payout screen, hoping Omi shows up there? I haven't noticed the payout screen. Anyone?
They have you taken a look at the version 2 website we have?
No.
They just updated it like a couple days ago, and you can't do anything on the market on there. So like you can still use either version 1 or version 2, but I think they're rolling it out slowly for hopefully either an OMI to NFT type of deal, because I don't think you'd be able to do that on the app, and then maybe like a one-click buy OMI. If it were me, I would probably hope for the OMI to NFT first, so this way I could sell some of my stuff for OMI while it's still down here. I actually got another million today, OMI, so up to 185.5. But the OMI to NFT, it's possible they come out with that. They come out with the one-click buy OMI first. I mean, the ease of access that's their main priority. And we got 2 this year so far. I can't imagine like that's going to be it. I'd imagine there's going to be multiple more exchanges. But yeah, that's what he's referencing.
Question on that web app version 2, actually, Randy, that I have for you is, I saw the email come through where you could click to get into it, but can you just log on to the web app online and type in the website to get into the V2, or do you have to click in and put your credentials in from the email?
You should be able to. Let me see. Yeah, like if somebody clicks into it, if they have it, they should be able to just send you the link. Like if I go on and once it loads, yeah, so you'll. Oh, actually, I don't know. You might just be view only to my page. I don't. No, you can click into your normal app.vv.me app, and then up top it'll go and say visit VeVe 2.0 over on the top left. At least that's what it's showing me.
Huh. Yeah, I might have to update my app or something. I haven't seen that.
Yeah.
But that makes it easy.
Bill Gardner said, looks like you guys had a blast in AZ. Yes.
I got so brown.
Also, if you guys have questions for Crypto Cosmo, put them in the chat. He has been amazing, actually. He's delved really deep into the NFT space, more than me, and pays way closer attention to that. And over the past 2 years, has called me and been like, you should check out this project, and you should check out this project. And about 80% of what he called me about went up massively after he called me about it. So he often has amazing alpha in this space. Now, like nothing in this space always goes up. 80% track record is pretty dang good.
Yeah, it's amazing. So I want your opinion on this. We've had a couple of big sales the last few days. Over on, I think 4 days ago, we had a 1 of 7 Aston Martin sell for $17,777. That's a 1 of 7, so that might make sense. I think this guy White has 2 of them. Dr. Profit has 1. So there's a couple that are really locked up. But then today we had a Amazing Spider-Man number 252. It's a secret rare. There's only 1,000 of those in general. But out of the secret rare, I think there are 40. This sold for $12,115. So even though there's a lot more of them, there's about 5 times as many. It sold for like 66% of the price. Oh, hey, there's that. Yeah. How do you guys feel about these 5-figure sales for these super scarce items? They're very notable items. And then how do you think that'll be affected when we have OMI to NFT?
OMI to NFT allows better liquidity, right? You'll have more stuff go up for sale probably. I do think in the future, I think VeVe has enough of a head start, enough amazing IP that perhaps as real big money comes in and they want social flexes, like we saw last market, the social flexes were basically Bored Ape and then a few other NFT projects. And essentially the social flex was you would set your Twitter profile to the one that you owned. And that was the extent of the social flex. I think where this goes in the future, it'll be easier to show off some of the collectibles that you own with your social media, maybe even augmented reality of it. Or even we already know you can do videos of augmented reality of it. I I wonder if the big money, like I think there's a chance the big money comes into VeVe items, and we're seeing that, right, with these big purchases. What do you think, Cosmo?
Yeah, I think with OMI to NFT coming in, it's going to impact it a bit. I don't think it's going to be a rush, when that feature goes live, that people are all of a sudden going to be pouring money into the VeVe system. I do think that there's going to need to be some further catalysts of excitement that generate attention from the communities at large to be able to bring in more people. And some of that honestly happens when the digital collectible narrative starts to come into play, right? Which we really haven't seen. And especially the NFT market when that comes into play. Because if you think about it, the whole NFT market is really, really, really down. It's been almost dead, honestly. Like very few NFT projects out there are able to generate any sort of significant revenue right now. But in my opinion, we will see that narrative start to come back, and we'll see like some of the bigger NFT projects start to gain momentum again as attention starts to head towards their direction, essentially. So I think that's one of the things it's going to take to really start getting money to come in bigger ways. And with NFT or OMI to NFT in place, it's going to just allow that money to flow seamlessly into these, and you'll see bigger and bigger purchases over time. That's my thought.
Yeah, agreed. Like, yeah, the future isn't written yet. And if we had a magic crystal ball, we would know exactly how it's going to play out. And we would know how to give you a great answer to this question, Big A. Is it time to sell my secret rare miles? Even if it goes up, it won't be for a while and can make mini X's on other coins in the interim, or am I wrong? Probability is probably good that you're right, but my magic crystal ball won't tell me exactly whether it'll work out that way. And if I told you which way to go and it didn't work out that way, then you'd be disappointed. Probabilities are higher that it will work out that way, but I don't know how it actually play out.
I mean, you've had a bunch of sales for that in like the 9,800 to like 13,000 region. And depending on when he bought it, whether he got it on the drop or paid $5,000 for it, if you're locking in that profit, generally it's never a bad thing. Never went broke by taking one. But if you have it's like you said, nobody has that crystal ball. You can get something, and maybe that something pumps, 3x in the next 6 weeks, as Bitcoin rallies back. Or you go and you say, hey, what you're getting is going to pump 2x, but over the next 6 months. Meanwhile, that Miles Morales, after OMI to NFT, after ease of access to the token, they do some marketing. Maybe that does a 5x over the next, couple of months. So there's really no way to tell.
Charlie D with the flex. Holy cow. Just hit level 80 today with 5,100 daily MCP.
Dang.
And 13 million OMI. 5,100 daily is crazy. I think I'm getting 2,150 right now. VeVe isn't going anywhere. I'm here for the long term.
Same. Which kind of reminds me, you were talking about, Cosmo, we were talking about the how well it's doing, how much let's say on average it's been since, let's say 2021, because we only got the app out in late 2020.
Mm-hmm.
So let's say it's been about 3.2 years, 3.3 years. Let's say they've grossed before any secondary markets, let's say about 250, 300 million. If we have that and we take its EBITDA before, if we try to value it, how much do you think they'd be valued at right now?
VeVe as a company?
Yes.
Gosh, I don't know. I definitely don't have like the expertise on like company valuations or so. I think you could technically sell a company or so like 7 times the value of your annual revenue or something like that. So that would put that at like 2.1 billion, right? If they were, that's in 3 years. So if they were doing an annual revenue of like 100 million or so, if you average it out, it might be worth like 700 million or something like that. And that's just a company that's just starting out, honestly, in a few years. Yes, it's technically been around since like 2017 or so, but really where it's gained traction and become public in terms of having an app available and their token, it hasn't been all that long. Now, if you think in crypto terms, of course, 3.5 years in crypto is seemingly a lifetime, but man, they are building and they are not only here for the long run, but they're going to be a massive company. I love what Alcon said, right? Is he's responsible for helping 6 out of the top 10 kids brands in the world, right? And VeVe is going to be number 7 for him. And honestly, it's hard for me, at least, not to trust him. I'm just like, he's done so much. He knows what he's doing. We're already seeing proof in the pudding of them bringing on so many licenses and doing so much. I think we're going to be shocked when they really roll out their full plans of how big in scope this project is.
Agreed. Now, obviously, when you have certain companies, you can sell them for a bit more multiples on their earnings just because they're in tech or they have higher margins, which I think VeVe does. So if we go in and we take a look at the earnings, what it did in the bear market, combined in conjunction with what you have on their balance sheet, which is, I think they have a little bit of Go token, just because they still have, a bunch of Go OMI. But I think over on their balance sheet that they have about 30-ish billion OMI as well. So as that goes up, obviously you have just a massive, massive amount. Do you think that VeVe could potentially one day, X amount of years in the future, be one of those $1 trillion companies?
There's certainly like a potential there, honestly. I don't know what the probability is for that, for the $1 trillion company. But from what I'm kind of understanding of where their plans are and where they're headed, I mean, I definitely see them being in the several billion. And the thing is, too, is what's crazy about the crypto market is it just doesn't make sense. I know, Rain, you've talked about this so many times. It's like the valuations that come into the crypto market oftentimes just do not make sense, right? Like you saw Bored Ape, like just their valuation on what they had on just their 10,000 apes, when they were valued at 450K a piece. I mean, it's astronomical what values get in crypto. It does not actually even make sense in terms of what, business-wise they should be valued at. So I'm not going to go so far to say that they're going to be a $1 trillion company yet. I'm going to be watching and waiting, but I definitely see them doing quite well and well into the billions.
Yeah, there's this interesting thing that's going on, and it's a lot of network effects. We saw these valuations hit crazy numbers because it used to be that brands only were pretty much local in their countries. And we're seeing this worldwide thing. And I think for the first time, we're about to see collectibles go worldwide, that you can sell them to some other place on the other end of the world. And it can happen like that on the market. You put it on the market, somebody on the other end of the world can see it and buy it. And already we're there, except a lot of people haven't got into digital collectibles. They haven't woken up to that. I think Bitcoin will do a lot of the hard work. A lot of people think, oh my gosh, if Dan and Dave just did this with the VeVe app, then it would hit major traction. And it's like, not really. What we're waiting for is the cascade effect. So Bitcoin is going to go to higher prices. We just had the Bitcoin halving. As Bitcoin breaks $100,000, more people wake up and they say, gosh, I've been feeling I need to learn about Bitcoin and I haven't yet. Let me look into it because it's so high now. And then they buy Bitcoin. Then they start looking around into other things. What's interesting is how many people come over to VeVe and Acomi so early in their crypto journey. As Cosmo said, like he did a little bit of Bitcoin, Ethereum 2017, but when he really got serious about it in 2021, one of the first projects he got into was VeVe and OMI. And so it draws people fairly early in their crypto journey because it's easy to wrap your mind around. Collectibles, Batman on the blockchain. Okay, digital collectibles. That's amazing. And so I do think that Acomi becomes, or VeVe becomes, one of the biggest companies in the world, one of the biggest brands, one of the biggest things people are talking about. And we'll see if it plays out that way. But if it does, then in this cycle, then OMI's market cap is going to go crazy. The valuation of the company, I don't know. It really has to do with revenues and multiples on revenues. When you're in a growth company, the multiples on the revenues can hit much, much higher than 7x. In fact, Amazon was negative in their revenues, or negative in, actually, they had revenues, but they were negative on their balance sheet, and they ran in the red for about 15 years before later becoming one of the biggest companies in the world. So it's nice that many months, maybe even all the months, but at least many months, VeVe is in the positive with what they're doing. That's unusual in the crypto space. I don't know of another company that's like that. Maybe NBA Top Shots, NFL all day in those, but almost nobody else in the crypto space has those kind of revenues coming in, and that they're probably positive on their revenues, though I haven't seen their balance sheet to know. But I do know they have massive revenues coming in. They have some of the top intellectual property. They have a community of people who love the product and continue to collect during the down market. And when Bitcoin hits over 100,000, this awareness grows. The flood of people that will probably come in will be high. Whether things will go to astronomical prices has to do with whether people in the billions of dollars range or hundreds of millions of dollars range really start wanting to socially flex some of the digital collectibles that VeVe makes. And that may happen. We see that a little bit with the secret rare Spider-Man comic that sold and the Aston Martin, but like that's not the big numbers. When purchases start happening in the million to 10 million, and those stories start getting told, that wakes up the other billionaires to like, oh gosh, yeah, maybe I'm going to pick up some of those.
I really like what Mr. MC1 is doing with the Comey Secret Rare logo, with the hashtag, like the finest things in life, or the finer things in life. And when you have that Comey Secret Rare logo associated with wealth and power, you have people associating with Teslas and their pools back there with, you know, that, and that's not like a hotel. I know it looks like it, but that's Rudy's, that's his house there, where he's got the hot tub right next to the pool, right next to the tiki bar in the back, flames. People doing it next to their Rolexes, next to their, you know, big expensive watches. You know, when you said, I know people have cool factors. You know, I have Dashi. You have Cosmo. You have two different VeVe Secret Rare logo hats. Rain, you have the glasses. So I mean, there's different cool factors that people have, but and there's wealth factors. But what coolness factor do you think is needed? Like, I know we've had, you know, professional sports. People like baseball players, NBA stars, last cycle be in spaces, take pictures with their R2D2s and stuff. This time, what do you think we need? Is the coolness factor going to come from like a YouTuber like Markiplier? Is it going to come from somebody that is well known in the real world, or more internet famous?
I think from my perspective, I think the referral program, if they can get the referral program going and incentivize people to really start talking about it and refer their friends to it, and they get some sort of benefit from that is going to ignite a cascade of people coming in to check it out. Once they check it out, they start finding their favorite characters or favorite collectibles. Like, they start just kind of diving in, like same way I did. You know, I had no interest like in this space in the beginning, and then I just got sucked in because it had so many of the characters I remember, the nostalgia. So I think that's going to be key. As you start seeing these influencers talking about it, you're going to start seeing bigger and bigger people get into this. And as you start seeing like some celebrities start talking about it and getting into it, you can start to see how it cascades from there. And we're already seeing, you know, some celebrities and things starting to buy in and find it, even while like the market on the VeVe side has been down. And so I think once you inject some of that incentives for people to really start talking about it and promoting it, it's going to send this thing quite quickly, honestly.
Imagine if you had this company that had this different intellectual property and some cool things, and like a really big YouTuber like Andre Jick like showed off the VeVe logo or something. Like, that would be a really big deal. That already happened. I think the cascade effect has started, right? Like, some people showing some of the things. Andre Jick has a really fun YouTube channel, really cool guy, and he's a VeVe collector. And he showed his stuff. I think he'll show his stuff more as people start waking up to this and talking about it, as well as other people. And what I'm going off of is what happened with NBA Top Shots last bear market. So around June of 2020, I think, is when NBA Top Shots launched. And I didn't have my YouTube channel yet, and I was doing research on like NFTs. And when I saw NBA Top Shots, I thought, wow, this is going to be like basketball cards in the early days. These are going to be like video moments, which is better than just a picture, an actual video moment. I think this project will do well. And this was my first like bear market that I was really preparing for the bull market. So I put about $1,100 into it over the following months. One YouTube person covering it said that that they had reached out to him and they had asked him to cover NBA Top Shots because they were having a hard time getting any traction at all. And in return, they would give him 10 packs for free. So they were literally reaching out to YouTubers with like 800 subscribers or 1,500 subscribers saying, hey, we'll give you 10 packs if you cover us. And they were trying and struggling to get any kind of awareness whatsoever. Fast forward to Bitcoin breaking previous highs and heading up to like, what was it at the time? I don't know. It was maybe in 2020. I don't remember. It was breaking its previous highs and on its way up again. So I guess it broke 20,000, maybe was at 25 or 30,000. You had basketball players flexing the moments of their friends or their own. And NBA Top Shots went crazy. My little $1,100 purchase turned into, at the value at the top, not even taking into account the low mint numbers on some of them, was like $187,000 out of $1,100 investment. And the basketball players were pushing it, right? So you had celebrities pushing it, and it went crazy. Whereas just 6 months prior, like they couldn't hardly even get a YouTuber to cover it to save their life. And they were only able to get the small YouTubers to cover it by paying them in packs. So people don't realize how like it can seem so slow and so dead and things can't happen. And 6 months later, the boom is gigantic because they haven't experienced it yet.
No, I'm gonna add something in there as well. Is it's just like, I think it's important. Like for me, one of the things that excites me about VeVe is just because they have the ingredients that I think it takes to be able to go big. Like there's the saying, IP is king, and they are dominating the IP world in spades compared to any other project out there. And then not only that, they're building the platform for technology that is just in its infancy stage. The whole VR and AR has so much, like it has so much runway to go to bring that, and combining those two. And then on the blockchain with crypto, like they have the ingredients and the team to be able to really garner interest worldwide for this. And I love what they're doing, where they are having a focus on onboarding Asia. I don't know all the things that they're doing over there, but the team has let on that they are working heavily in Asia to try to get them up and running, essentially, to be able to participate in VeVe more easily. And I think that's exciting because they truly have plans to take this worldwide. And a guy like Al Khan has the experience in doing it. And then with David Yu, just his experience in collecting and understanding what collectors want and need. And so I'm just impressed with the ingredients they have. Now, just because you have all the ingredients, that doesn't make it automatic that it happens, right? Like you do have to kind of push things in order to be able to help make them come out and garner that kind of chain reaction or so. But I don't know that the timing is quite right to really like unveil your hand right now when sentiment on the NFT market in general is just quite low. Like why spend the money and have a worse ROI right now when the market is so down and you have to spend so much more money and effort to really gain the attention, when down the road, however many months down the road that is, when the market starts to naturally turn towards the NFT market again and excitement starts to happen, you can now use that money that you saved and spend it during a time where your ROI is so much more efficient, which only propels you to much greater highs because you're using that money so much more efficiently. So I'm glad that VeVe really hasn't tipped their hand super far right now. At this point in the market, yes, there was a big boom like Q4, right, with a lot of projects going up, many projects in the crypto market just going. You saw some doing 10x's, 20x's or so, and OMI really wasn't doing that. And a lot of the associated tokens like Flow blockchain wasn't going up that high either. And it's just because the attention towards this space wasn't really there. And I believe it will be in the future within the next 12 months and certainly within the next 24 months. And VeVe has the opportunity to explode at that time.
People need to take that last 2 minutes and clip that.
Yeah,
and then you can
totally.
Yeah. That needs to be shouted at the rooftops. I might take that for my next video. Because a lot of it, I think, has to do with patience. And I see a lot of people saying like, oh, like, these meme coins can get listed, and okay, well, meme coins are just meme coins. There's no expectation of utility. There's no expectations of these. And when you have certain projects that are maybe worth a couple $1 million that are not on the SEC's radar, they can get away with other stuff that maybe VeVe and Akomi can't because of their associations with Disney and these super large, and Disney kind of warring with some of the government there. There's already eyes on it.
I mean, I'll add this, right? Like you have Bored Ape Yacht Club, right? Hey, Doc, yes, what's up? Oh, yes.
Dr. Stuff says, yo, keep up the awesome stream. You're in trouble, Randy. Leaving me out of that secret rare logo competition. That's messed up.
I love you, Doc. Take no offense.
So yeah, so Bored Ape Yacht Club, like perfect example. I mean, they have been the king of NFTs, honestly, like for a long time. I know Pudgy Penguins has really given them competition lately in terms of floor price, and it's kind of gone back and forth a little bit. But they've done amazing things, and they set new standards, honestly, in the NFT arena. And so I bought a bunch of Other Side land, right? Other Side is the name of their metaverse, and I went into their Discord, and this was about like 5 months ago or so. And I was just very curious because I'd heard about how good their community was and just how many benefits they had inside their community and how it just taken off. And I get into the Discord, and it was just a mess. I mean, there was so many complaints. People were just dogging on the project, dogging on the team, saying their communication has just been horrible. Why aren't they doing more for us? They've just left the holders high and dry. This is ridiculous. Why did I even buy into this project? And I'm just like, wait a minute. This is happening in the Bored Ape space too. I was like, guys, this is basically the king of NFTs, and this is happening to them where they are getting flooded so hard. And yet they've got a team that in the background has so much cash. They brought in so much money during the bull run with their sales, and they are building. They are straight up building, and yet their community is just not happy. Why? Well, for the most part, whether people like to admit it or not, most part is because the price is down. And people are down on their investments, and people are like, what the heck? Why did I spend this money, back then when it's worth so little now? Like you really haven't taken care of us as investors. And so sure enough, they come out with a couple of games. What happens after they come out with a few games? Actually, more FUD. I mean, the community's like, these games are boring. These games just are terrible. What have you done? I can't believe this is what you released. This is absolute garbage. There was just like no pleasing so many of the family. Now, of course, there was people that, were enjoying the space still, but I just shocked. I mean, it's riddled with FUD in almost every project you go to. There's almost no projects that are actually up compared to where they were at the bull run last cycle. The only one that I know of, and I'm sure there's a handful of others, but is Pudgy Penguins, honestly. Like that's really it. So VeVe, it's not much different. Like prices are down. And honestly, I'm taking advantage of it as much as I can because I love buying cheap and being able to see it go up. And so for those that are just like, I'm done, I already bought and now I'm down, like this is just a rug, it's just going to keep going. Fine. Like I'll give you, take that opinion, but I am just scooping what I can because I love these prices and I'll just keep going.
I don't know. The Lone Wolf says Omi has been over for so long. I mean, shoot, it's been going down. It's been going down in price for 3 years. Doesn't that guarantee us that it's going down more and that it's done? Especially because other things have come out and gone up really high and Omi hasn't. Isn't that a sign that nothing will ever happen with Omi and that it's dead?
I think that's indisputable. If it's been down for 3 years, there's no chance that it can come back up. So, yep. So yeah, you sell your stuff. I'll buy your bags at these prices. I'm happy to do so. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. And that's always the rule number one, right? Don't spend money that you're not willing to lose in crypto. I love these prices. I'm continuing to scoop what I can. And if it stays low like this for another year, I'll just keep scooping. So that's my mentality for this.
Yes, I think Lone Wolf is absolutely right. I mean, just because last bear market, some things went down for 3 years and eventually turned around and went massively above their previous highs. That does not mean that Akomi will do that this year. There's no guarantee. In fact, it's probably never going to happen. That Omi is probably dead. I love that argument.
Yeah. The lone wolf has spoken.
Yeah,
So
yeah, you're probably right, Lone Wolf, that Omi's probably dead just because it hasn't gone up in 3 years. It's probably terrible to buy at these lows. It's probably amazing to sell at these lows. And gosh, something that doesn't go up for 3 years must be dead. Amazon might differ with that. Google might differ with that. In fact, every successful company in history probably has a different track record than that, but you're probably right. All right. Dano says, I just watched a clip of Dance announcing we had well over 1 million users back in 2022. Just bewildering. I don't get why this is bewildering. If you've been in crypto for a while, like, haven't you noticed these cycle patterns? Like, to me, it's as easy as possible. But I guess one of my specialties is pattern recognition. And so even last bear market, like, I was as happy as a kid in a candy store. Now, I wasn't 100% sure my thesis was right, but I was buying and then it would go down some more, and I was buying some more and I was buying some more, because what goes down with these cycles that happen every 4 years, well, my thesis would eventually Bitcoin would surpass its previous highs, as it did. A lot of attention would come in the crypto space, and that most everything would pump like crazy. And wouldn't you know, it played out exactly like that. So is it any big surprise that back in 2022, like January 2022 specifically, VeVe had over 1 million active daily users, and now it doesn't? Why? Well, because we've had this big thing called the bear market. And what happens in the bear market? Your users fall off. Also, some of those users were bot accounts. Why? Because using the bot accounts, they could buy and they could immediately flip it at a huge profit. And so, one person might set up 100 different accounts. So yeah, they had over 1 million active daily users, and then it fell off because we've had a bear market. And if you're shocked by that, you need more crypto education. You just do. You don't understand these cycles. And because you don't understand these cycles, you'll miss out on the benefit from understanding them and timing things appropriately. Because how you make money in any investment is good timing. But how can you make good timing if you don't understand the overall patterns and how they're playing out? So, like, as an investor, is it fair to say that you buy low and sell high? So if prices are really low right now, you want to understand, what is the likelihood that this project survives? Well, you have no ability to analyze that if you don't look historically and see, well, Cardano hit 1.7 cents. What happened from there in the bear market? And people saying it was going to die. What happened from there? Did it eventually turn around when the bull market came? Cool. Will a Comey survive into the bull market? Do they have revenues coming in? Do they have top intellectual property? When they listing for sale, does it sell? Okay, so probably it'll survive into the bull market. So if it'll survive into the bull market, why is it that a Comey wouldn't then benefit from the bull market? Whereas in past bull markets, almost every single company that survived into the bull market did. That's the questions I ask. That's what I look at. Am I looking at this wrong, Cosmo? Because I know you've gotten really good at this pattern detection, because all the stuff you called me about, like 80% of it went up, some of it massively.
I think it's...
Sorry.
Go ahead, Rand. I think it's just exactly that. Like, it really comes down to the cycles with this. It is amazing to me of how up the crypto market gets and how down it gets. And so it is no surprise to me that, yeah, 1 million users came in when everything was just riding high. There's euphoria. People hear stories of people just making tens of thousands of dollars off NFTs that they bought for hundreds of dollars. People are like, holy cow, like, I want to try to get in on that action. And everybody wants to kind of start participating when they feel that energy and have that kind of opportunity. And then, of course, as that opportunity dies down with the bear market, people go away. And that's just normal. And to expect anything different is really setting yourself up for failure, honestly, especially if you're asking the company to go spend money to try to get all of those people to come back right away, when there just isn't that interest and those kind of factors in place that drew those people in to begin with. And luckily, since it is a 4-year cycle, those factors will come back. And when they do, VeVe's perfectly positioned to garner all that attention again.
Yeah, it reminds me of what Cryptoys did, where they paid, I don't know, in the 5-figure range. It could be low 5 figures, it could be high 5 figures, or anywhere in between, to get iJustine, who's been a big influencer for well over a decade, has millions of followers, paid her to do a spaces, and I think was on a live stream with them, and it translated into almost no sales just because the timing was wrong, and the value, the price of what they paid was not the value that they got. Same thing with that Star Wars guy over on TikTok. Whereas I feel like if you take a look at OMI, I think a year ago we were around this price, around 0006, and since then they've launched OMI staking, like multiple seasons of OMI staking, had a bunch of airdrops. They've launched MCP points, the ability to use those. They'll have OMI. I mean, we have an updated market, like we have an updated timeline of what they want to do. Ease of access to the token. We've gotten more exchanges. We have OMI to NFT coming likely this quarter. So I feel like the value of what we're getting is really going up a lot, but the price is staying the same. So if you want to go and sell at these levels or not buy at these levels and wait, I mean, to me, it's just a no-brainer. That's why I bought another $1 million this morning.
Yeah, I bought another 1.8 million this morning, and I have buy orders in that have probably hit, though I haven't checked it since early this morning. So if so, it'd be a total of 4.8 million, which clearly, NFT Hero says, you guys seen the current market? No, gosh, what's going on in the current market? Anyone have a link to the McDonald's job application? See you guys there. Sweet.
Or NFT Hero.
I'm sure we'll be there. I'm sure this won't work out. That crypto will probably crash this and not have its bull run this 4-year cycle, just because it has, since it was created, a 4-year cycle where it goes up massively. Probably this time won't happen, right? So
and I'll say too is like for the 4-year cycle, it's something I honestly planned for. Like nobody knows exactly how things are going to play out, and it's always a little bit different each cycle. But I remember like talking to Rain as he was explaining to me the 4-year cycles in my kind of early journey in Web3, kind of understanding this. Like one of the things I did with my own finances, with the money that I was willing to put into crypto, is I honestly set this timeline. I was like, okay, so if it's a 4-year cycle, I'm going to say like 2 years after the, December, November 2021 highs, I'm going to target that time frame to really kind of go in heavier into some of my positions. And I was like, right or wrong or so, like I'm going to try to kind of hold off on really going into a lot of projects until like we're 2 years into the bear market. And, like October, November, there was a bunch of projects pumping. I'm like, oh man, like, I missed some of those boats, and that's okay, because I'm going to stick to my December timeline. And I did, and OMI was like really, really low. And I was like, this is perfect. So I went in heavier into OMI, bought up, a bunch, still looking to scoop up more, and bought a bunch of various projects that I was interested in. And now I'll kind of continue to hold these and see how these next couple of years play out and adjust from there. But I've been loving like the low prices on the projects that have a strong team, strong financial foundation, and have a vision for the future. So I'll take it.
Yeah, absolutely. Want to give a shout out to FamBam, who hung out with us in Arizona and had a blast, as well as some other friends. Rudy and Tina were amazing hosts, and we showed that picture of Namecoast, or Rudy's secret rare submission, secret rare Ecomi logo submission. They're so funny because he picked it up, and then his wife had to go and buy one too because she's so competitive. Let's see. Dr. Stuff chiming in. Wish you were here with us, Doc. Let's be honest. Doc was one of the main people that helped get Cosmo into VeVe. So wish Doc was able to get here. Maybe we can have Cosmo back. Cosmo, you may not know him. I've known him for a long time. Is a major player in the crypto space, even though he really didn't get into 2021. He's put in hours and hours and hours of research. He is most often right. Having talked to him frequently during the past 4 years, he keys me in on a bunch of things that are going on all the time. And that's why he was definitely worth bringing on. He is much smarter than your average bear. Phoebe said, it was so great to meet you and your amazing wife. She is an amazing wife. All right. So back to this. Many of these. So we did not have 1 million actual users in 2022, which is correct. Many of these accounts were bots. When Dan said that, he was saying active users, which is a SaaS term. The bots were counted in that. Essentially, yes, the term they say daily active users is really more like daily active accounts, not necessarily users. So bots get counted in that daily active users number, which is the term that is frequently used, like what Doc is saying.
You know what though? Like, it's interesting. People want to say like, well, they totally misrepresented the numbers, you know, and it's fascinating because as you dive deeper into crypto companies in general and tokens, and they boast like, we've done this much volume on exchanges or so, like there is so many players that in projects that will buy and sell tokens back and forth to up their volumes specifically. Like, this is something that happens throughout all the crypto sphere, like in at least in many projects. And so it's not something that VeVe was like actively like creating bot accounts to do it, at least to my knowledge. But yes, did those bot accounts get counted? Most likely, yes. You would anticipate so, because they didn't have a metric to exactly identify all the ones that were bots or not. So they counted all of them. And that's not unusual, honestly, for most companies.
Yeah, it's really actually a bullish sign, as you have that at New York Comic Con, San Diego Comic Con, people making a bunch of bot accounts to get those tickets and then resell them over on Ticketmaster or wherever. And Nike has that same issue.
Which, by the way, remember, all those bot accounts is a problem that they solved. And yet I haven't seen somebody bringing that up here. And what I was thinking about is this reminds me so much of 2020. And in 2020, people were just so frustrated. Why? And what they're really frustrated is that prices weren't up. And they just felt if they complained enough about the teams that were building things, that somehow that would help. And they were just like, they found every reason to whine and complain about how if the team was on it, they would have done XYZ better. And they would have done this better, and how they screwed up on this, and how they did this wrong, and they did this wrong. And then 2021 happened. And guess what? All the people that had sold, they cried and went away because they had sold and they saw everything go up, and they just shut up and disappeared. And the people who hadn't sold forgot about all their woes and were massively up. And those that had continued dollar cost averaging at the bottoms were now, many of the people that I knew, now millionaires. Cool. How's that going to play out this time? Probably the same, but we'll see. If all you can see is like the little mistakes that they made, like these aren't serious mistakes. In fact, if you look at the track record, like all those bots, that was super frustrating. And it is a big problem to solve. And it took them a while to solve it. Why? Because it's not an easy problem to solve. But they essentially solved that problem. And yet not one person has brought that up. They continue to move forward. And the reason they haven't brought up is because the price is still down and you're still feeling frustrated. So if all you can think about your frustrations, you are seeing this completely wrong, and probably crypto isn't right for you. That's cool. Now, maybe you're just here for the collecting, which is cool because VeVe does attract both, right? Some people here for the collecting of things, and it's going to feel frustrating if you're looking at the prices at all, because they're all down since January 2022. Will they be up in the future? Probability is really high that they will. I'm here for VeVe, but I'm more heavily invested in Ecomi. Cosmo, you have a lot of VeVe. What's your thoughts on OMI token?
Yeah, I'm super bullish on the token. I mean, when people say that the OMI token is dead and it's barely even started rolling out its features and benefits to it, I'm like, guys, we've barely even scratched the surface with this. So I'm bullish on OMI. I've been stacking. I think I'm over like 160 million plus right now. And I'm going to keep buying it because I do believe that it's going to have a strong use case for the app. Because you look at crypto companies out there, there's so many that have tokens that don't have strong use cases. I think OMI is going to have a strong use case, something that's going to make people want to buy it and hold it. And they're already providing some of those benefits right now. But VeVe has only scratched the surface of where it's headed. I think OMI is going to do quite well.
I would love to hear more from people in our chat, like Energy, who's a whale. I also want to buy more OMI again and again. And then I catch myself put the money into VeVe. I'm happy to own 332 sets and get over 6.6 MCP daily. What a freaking whale. Can't wait to get to level 100. Why would I rather hear from Energy all the time? Well, because like in order to have the money to buy that kind of stuff, they must get a lot of their decisions right in their life. And it isn't luck. So the people that make massive money in other things, they usually have a good idea how to make massive money in new markets. And so Energy's here, Cosmo. I know what he does for his day job. He's a superstar, like a massive superstar. This comment is freaking amazing. Coriel says, and he's exactly right on this, the worst time is to get in when everything's already out and fixed and there's nothing to complain about. He's exactly right. Because by then, the pump has already happened. You missed all the timing. You missed buying low. And this is when a lot of people get in, when everything's fixed and there's nothing to complain about. And they look around and everybody feels like they're buying. And all their complaints have gone away. And that's when they're buying. And that's what I call buying high, hoping it goes higher. And it usually works out poorly for you.
They just had an announcement, or I guess like a quick video. My Collectibles just went on the VeVe official page. It's like, hey, here's this new VeVe Web 2.0 that we just launched. Not everything is announced yet, so they're kind of leaving a little hints. Hey, be prepared. There's more. If I can quote Billy Mays from the ShamWow commercials.
Busting out the quotes again. I like it.
Yeah, I know, right? He's got all of them. Pink Panther, OMI to NFT is what we need right now. Like, that'll be a big thing, and they're working on that. I think even if they didn't have that ready, and I don't see why they won't, but this bull run would still be massive without that. It's just going to be more massive with it. Saul G is exactly right. I love these prices.
He's a cool dude. I'm very blown away by all of the amazing people we have in those groups. And yeah, how do we disagree with Jeremy with this? Because I don't think it is. If you were to go and sprint into certain things and do things that other projects would do, you would have the issues that arise with those. And I guess we'll get into this now. We had the compliance factor. I don't know if you want to go over. I guess CZ, who got 4 months in. He even says today in his speech, like, "Hey, I'd like to thank everyone for the care and support. Blah blah blah. I'll remain a passive investor and holder in crypto. Our industry has entered a new phase. Compliance is super important. A silver lining of this whole process is that Binance has been under the microscope and funds are SAFU, protect users. So that's one of the reasons why you can't just do things all willy-nilly and you have to go and wait for regulatory compliance. Another reason is Jack Dorsey's block faces scrutiny from federal authorities over non-compliant crypto services. That is going to be for his Cash App and his Square company. And again, these are people that are worth billions of dollars, and you think you just pay these people to get off your back, and I guess essentially that is what they do. Is he paid billions, and he still got 4 months in prison. But yeah, this is why I think it's super important for VeVe and Acomi to be super compliant with everything. Because if they don't, then you go the way of other people. You have an SEC investigation, and then you have to take those amazing profits and use that to fight them off.
I mean, I do think Jeremy's got a point, though, like that it's kind of both aspects of that statement are true. It's both a sprint and a marathon for companies that want to be around for the long term. And quite honestly, there's a lot of crypto companies that aren't going to be around for the long term and are meant to just be around to get some good VC money coming in, kind of take that first cycle, run with it, go with the hype, and then disappear. There's a ton of teams that are doing that. Now with VeVe, I think it's important for them to play their hand at the right time, take the ingredients they've got and show them as the energy starts to come back to the NFT space and help generate and fuel that excitement and ride that excitement, and then keep doing things compliantly along the way so that you can continue and you don't get yourself bootstrapped by lawsuits from the SEC coming after you because you haven't done things correctly. And that's one of the things I'm quite bullish on VeVe is they have really kind of thought futuristically for the most part this entire time. They were thinking about NFTs long before they were ever cool. Like they were planning on doing this. They were approaching their licensors on 3D digital collectibles and NFTs way before Bored Ape became popular, right? Which really ignited a lot of the NFT excitement. And then they're talking about, we want to be compliant and we want to do things the right way and we want to make sure we're doing all that. And now you have CZ saying like compliance is very important. Like they are setting themselves up for success. And while the meme coins of the world largely aren't going to be held accountable for anything that they do, because there's no real team, that's doxed, especially, that's going to be held accountable for it. VeVe is out there and they want to be able to make sure that they can be around for the long term. And I think it's super important that they do things compliantly so that they can be, because that's how it's going to succeed long term.
Yeah, regulators are not messing around and they are going after companies like Randy just showed. And so they have a huge target on their back. They have to be really careful about what they do. Some new meme coin coming out and getting on these exchanges. First of all, the SEC hasn't been going after meme coins at all, right? Because it's just gambling money. And the SEC doesn't seem to care about gambling money because there's no chance. Well, the chances are really, really low. They'll count it as a security token because if you buy it, you're an idiot, essentially. So there's no like, oh, this might be a stake in the company or whatever, right? There's no chance that it should be worth anything. And so the chance that they get deemed a security is way, way, way low. The chance of something serious like, the SEC going after OMI, well, if they make some missteps, then that puts a huge target on their back that they could. And that's why they're being extra careful. So essentially, a lot of the people's arguments is, why are they being so extra careful? And it's like, well, they have Disney partnerships, Marvel partnerships. You think the SEC wouldn't like to make an example out of them? And they're like, XYZ company has a $4 million market cap and they're listed in all these exchanges and they're not being careful and they're paying dividends and they're doing all these things. Yeah, it's got a $4 million market cap, no big partners with anyone. And like, yes, they're doing risky things. They might get targeted. And those owners aren't even doxed. So if they are targeted, they might be able to disappear. That is not the case with Comey. They have to take the right steps. If they're not taking the right steps, they will lose their partnerships. So some people that can't see that, they're new to crypto and they just haven't heard the argument. Other people that can't see it are not trying to see it. They're only trying to see the downsides and they're not trying to see the positives because they've already made up their mind. And I'm not talking to them. I don't even know why they tune in here.
Agreed.
One thing I'll give VeVe. Oh, go ahead, Randy.
Oh, no, just saying agreed. Yeah, that's it.
One thing I got to give VeVe a lot of credit for is their ability to keep things quiet. And when I say that, I'm not talking about how they talked about their roadmaps and the things that they had planned, in the early days that they maybe still haven't come out with or so. But I'm talking about they released a Funko full-on collectible that was ready to ship along with a digital companion with it, and nobody knew anything about it at all. And that was in the works. It had to have been in the works for at least a couple of years, I imagine, to put all that together, if not longer. Nobody knew anything. And so when that came out, my wheels started turning. I'm like, how they've alluded to hundreds of partnerships in the past, and yet we're not hearing about them, right? I see that come out and it's one of the biggest collectible companies in the world. And it's an actual physical model that they're ready to print and sell. I'm like, this is incredible. Like they have gained more of my trust once again, that they can deliver big things. And whether you think, well, that wasn't that big, that is a big, big IP. And to have a digital version of it, the first digital in our space, essentially, that was a big deal to me. And it showed that they can keep things that are on a high level, very quiet. I think they've got a ton more building that we have no idea about.
Agreed. Doc of Stuff says, I think one of the possible major catalysts for digital collectibles will be Web3 gaming. As gamers, they'll see that they can own their own skins and weapons, and they'll start asking, what other digital collectibles can I own? Good point. Well said, Rain. Regarding the very small likelihood that memes would ever be deemed securities, yeah, it's just lower risk for the projects. They don't have the exposure. And so talking to the OMI team, like one of them was saying how they have friends over at Ripple, and Ripple was telling them, look, go this route. It is not worth having to get entangled with the SEC. It has held us back. We have had to spend hundreds of millions of dollars that we would have preferred not to have to spend. How much farther would we be ahead if we had been able to put that into our project?
I think a lot of it has to do with immaturity in the space. I saw it with Pokemon years ago, where you had people that were in their 20s and they were like, hey, and they just didn't understand economics. They just didn't understand pricing and cash flow and money in. And they would say, hey, why are these prices were X amount, 6 months ago or 8 months ago, and they have an emotional attachment to those prices, and then they don't understand that things change. And then on the opposite, on the collecting end, people would say like, hey, I got this really cool item that is, let's say it's a chase card, and let's say there's only one of 10 of them in PSA that's graded, not knowing, hey, others are going to be graded. Like, just because you graded it first doesn't mean that others won't grade it. And I see that a lot here. A lot of people just, they live in that fishbowl of, why can't this happen? And they don't understand that Akomi isn't these meme coin projects. They're a completely different breed, and they're not a pump and dump. So that's why they have to go in and be super careful. And that's what'll make them a $100 billion company, as opposed to these meme tokens that are worth maybe a couple million.
Yeah. Congratulations, Jimbrowski, that he recently hit level 51 with 115 sets. And his question is, what is the threshold for master collector? I'm getting about 2,100 a day now. I'm about at the same level, and I'm not a master collector.
I think it's like 2,700, 28. Yeah. On certain days, like when we have drops and everybody goes for those drops, then it goes up to like 3K, a little bit more than that, but it's in the high 2000s now.
There are some advertisements for VeVe on Facebook. I actually see them. I've seen that rolling out the last couple of weeks about some of their comics and other things. So they are starting to advertise. The time to spend the advertising dollars, this goes with NBA Top Shots. They actually ran ads for about 2 weeks, but they waited to run ads till the bull market was happening. And when the bull market was happening, they ran ads for NBA Top Shots for 2 weeks. And then they had so much traction because they ran it at the right time. The traction shut down their servers because they couldn't handle all the business coming in from it. And they shut down their ads, and they didn't have to run ads again. And the bull market continued to push it out further. And then a bear market happened. And guess what? They had fall off too. The number of NBA Top Shots users has gone way down because this is what the cycle does. So it's not like NBA Top Shots is doing anything wrong. It's not like VeVe is doing things wrong. This is just how the cycle happens.
And we'll get a lot. I mean, for me, if they were to have a Randy Chavez VeVe NFT come up there, you'd be damn sure that I would be posting on my socials, hey, go and get this here, because one, that would make me a little more money, and then on the secondary as well. So I would think that at some point you would have a bunch of these other places. Let's just take DC, for example. DC has their IP kind of everywhere. They have it on Candy, they have it on Hero, they have it on VeVe, and possibly other places we don't know about yet because they're so small, maybe Wax. When they do advertise, like, where do you think that money's going to go? Is they going to focus on advertising on the 100 users that are on, Candy or Hero, or are they going to focus on the thousands and tens of thousands that are on VeVe? That's where the money is. You're going to have a bunch of these people that are going to say, it's like decon artists, hey, look at this. I'm shoulder to shoulder with Disney. Look how successful I am over on this VeVe app. And it might translate to 1 or 2 sales for them on their product, but then they'll also see other things that they like on there as well. That's why you have Nike and Adidas always in the same shopping centers. Oh, if you go for one, it'll drive traffic in to bring multiple others as well.
That's a really good point. I hadn't thought about the actual IP advertising drive people to VeVe, but that would make sense that will happen when the bull market happens. A lot of people are just feeling impatient. They're like, oh, why hasn't it happened already? It's coming, and it just takes time. Like, one of the reasons that I moved to crypto is because I'm used to these cycles taking 17 to 24 years in real estate. And so I was super happy when I saw this thing that happens in a 4-year cycle. If you've not waited that long in a cycle before, 4 years seems like forever, but it's so short. It's shorter than any other cycle I've ever seen, with massive volatility and swings. Right now, the volatility is driving you nuts because your portfolio is massively down, probably because you probably came in at previous highs, because that's when everybody comes into crypto for the first time at highs, because their friends told them how much they made. And so they come in and they buy at the highs, only to get nailed by a pullback. And then the smart ones stick around the pullback and buy. The non-smart ones stick around the pullback and complain the whole pullback and don't buy. And then they find out that there's a 4-year cycle and things go up massively again, which the ones that stuck around but didn't buy and probably sold, they then just disappear because they don't want to say anything because they'll look like idiots. And the ones that stuck around and bought look like, geniuses, and they make tons of money and their portfolio reflects genius level wealth.
I'm going to chime in there too. I 100% agree that there will be a bunch of VeVe's partners advertising about VeVe and their collectibles on VeVe. I mean, I keep referencing Al Khan because he's got so many gold nuggets, honestly, but he talked about one of his strategies. This is a few years ago, and he talked about how in the beginning, he links his companies to strong IPs to gain credibility and continues building in that until he gets to a point where companies want to link their IP with his IP. And I think VeVe is doing that exact thing. They are building so many high quality IPs around them until they get big enough where companies are going to want to be associated with VeVe. I'm seeing that play out. I think it's working. We're just in the early stage of that. We're on the first section of that. But when that bull run comes around and things start hopping around, and when I say bull run, I'm talking about a hyperbolic market where things just really start going bananas, and especially when the NFT market takes off. When that starts coming into play, companies are going to want to be flexing that they are connected with VeVe. Hey, come check out our collectibles that are on VeVe. I 100% believe they'll be doing that.
Yeah. Great comment by Coriel. I think it's a big push, the integration to social media along with gaming. My thought is even if the collectible isn't made to integrate to a certain game, it can act as a key to a remastered version. I think blockchain gaming goes absolutely tremendous this upcoming bull run. I've been playing Illuvium today. They have private beta 4 today. It's significantly increased from before, and they have some cool things. I think blockchain gaming in general takes off. This idea of blockchain digital collectibles, I think, goes massive this upcoming cycle. Even though it doesn't feel like it now, even though the money hasn't come in now, it's in the bull run. We haven't seen a lot of new people with new money yet. We saw a tiny bit of that about 6 weeks ago, just a tiny bit. Later, there will be a whole lot of that with the amount of money coming in will be huge. And that's often when you see your altcoin bags massively pump, as well as some of your NFTs or digital collectibles. We'll see how things are 6 months to 12 months from now. And we'll see if Rain is right, because Rain usually is.
Can't wait.
Yeah, and he's so humble about it. Cosmo's known me for a while. Am I usually right, or am I just wrong?
You have been right a lot in this market. Like, honestly, over time, I mean, at first you tried to get me into crypto and I was just like, I don't know, man. I don't know. And then 4 years later, you came and showed me, you're like, hey man, this is some of the things I've done. And I'm like, holy cow. And then since then, you just continue to nail more and more things. Of course, you're not right all the time, but you've nailed more and more things as they've come along. And so, yeah.
You do get better. I mean, my first 4 years, I made a lot of bad calls and I invested in projects that today I would never touch, but I was just new, right? And so like I invested in 2017 in this Bitcoin mining thing that it would mine daily and you could claim daily. Yeah, every one of those I think was a scam. And I didn't know. I was naive. I was like, oh, this is so cool. I'm investing in this Bitcoin mining company that pays out daily. Yeah, sure. I think it was some kind of like, I don't know. Anyway, a scam, and eventually went away and stopped paying out, which if it was a Bitcoin mining thing, it would have kept paying out. But anyway, yeah, a lot of products I invested in, especially between 2017 to 2021, only 35% of what I bought during that time even survived into 2021. But then the 35% that did put my whole portfolio up 20x, which is amazing. I like to think I've gotten better, but like, I still don't have a 100% success rate. Ecomi is one of my favorite ones because the chance that Ecomi fails from now is so low, but also the chance that its upside might be anywhere from 20x on the very low side to maybe 200 or 300x. I'm in some other projects that are much higher risk that they might fail, but if they do come together, it might be a 2000x or 3000x. So what I like is Ecomi's risk profile as I feel it is, and its potential return profile as I feel it is. That's why I continue buying more OMI.
There's Cosmo, me and you had a little bit of fun with Dr. Stuff trying to get him to get the VeVe logo. And then we were just saying, yo, Doc, you got to get in here. There's one guy named Cosmo in here you got to meet. And, and he didn't know that like we knew each other. So that was fun. How do we get Rain in there? How do we have him go?
That is a good question. I've been working on it for a little while, and so far no go. But I think he'll join us before long. I think he will.
I think so
We'll
too.
see. I just have a hard time paying like $5,500 for a logo. Do you know how much OMI that will buy? That will buy like 9 million OMI.
Like, yeah, that's so much.
And it's like 9 million more OMI or a logo so that I can chat in a group and I can go to a party once a year. 9 million more OMI, because that's going to buy like Lamborghinis. Like, I need to do well enough this bull market so I can cash out a bunch and buy all these supercars I'm talking about while still having a bunch to keep rolling. So, I mean, the secret rare logo, once I buy it, it's not like I can freaking ever sell it. So it's like money gone for forever, in my opinion, because I couldn't then part with it once I buy it.
Yeah. What I really like about,
I think it was Hash Flare Big A. I think that's what it was. It was like this.
I remember Hash Flare. Oh my gosh. Yes, I did that. Yes, Hash Flare. Oh my gosh. Yeah, that wrecked me.
Speak the truth and they mute you. No, but you just talk a bunch of complaints over and over and over again. I will absolutely mute you, especially when you're filling up the whole feed with complaints. Cool. You've made your opinion. Cool. We need to hear you about maybe 5%. If you're dominating, I'd like to hear more from some of the other people that are complete ballers in their real life, and yet they're here in crypto. And you have to be a complete baller to have like 5,000 daily points coming in. That means you have invested massively in VeVe. That's who I want to hear from. I don't want to hear people that probably sold all their, never had OMI to begin with, and probably have 15 collectibles. Cool. Their opinion is cool. Let's hear a little bit of that. But if you try to dominate the feed, I'm just going to mute you, because like, here's what my mentor told me in life. When you buy in other people's opinions, you buy into what they have. So do I want people hearing the opinions over and over and over again of somebody that might have 15 collectibles because that might be all they can afford? No. I would like them to hear from people who are worth $5 million, $10 million, $100 million, or have like massive amounts invested in VeVe. Well, why did they take such a risky? Why did they take that risk? Why did they invest so heavily? How do they think? Okay, you have 2,600 daily points or 2,100. Cool. I want to hear your opinion. Why? Because that's who I learn from, is the people that are making things. So like, if you buy into people's opinions, you buy into their lifestyle. So if you watch someone on YouTube that's gone all vitriolic on VeVe and OMI, look into their lifestyle. Is that the kind of lifestyle you want? Because if you buy into their opinions, that's the lifestyle you're going to get. And so like, you know, be careful who you listen to, because when you adopt their opinions, you'll also adopt their results.
My friend Vinny Papalardo over on Long Island used to say, take someone that's successful, do what they do, and one day you'll have what they have. And if you do what successful people do, you're likely going to go and follow their footsteps. If you do what unsuccessful people do, like maybe exit a project and don't move on and continue to stay and hate, well, I mean, what kind of life is that? It doesn't seem like a very good life. But again, that's just my opinion.
Maida wants to know where are the whales sweeping statues? I don't know. Are they sweeping statues?
I mean, some of them already have, but some of them already, like you were saying, hey, I can get some of these statues that will probably do a 20x. Maybe could they do a 40x up to 100K? That's possible. It's not outside the realm of possibility, but in my opinion and their opinion, we share the same things, that OMI would have a better chance of doing a higher ROI. So that's what they're doing. Hi, Sleeping.
Sleeping is here. Unfortunately, Sleeping usually chimes in when he can, but he doesn't say a lot in the comments. I wish he did, but you can watch his YouTube channel. He is awesome. I love his breakdowns. Another very successful business owner who has amazing opinions. Big A. Man, you do crack me up. I just had to share this. I wish I had money so my opinion could be valuable. Money is an indicator of success. It's not the only indicator of success, but it is an indicator of success. And the truth is, the more success you have in life, the more valuable your opinion is. So if you have very little success in life, the truth is your opinion is not very valuable. So now it's not the only indicator of success. So maybe there are other indicators of success. The top gymnasts in the world, they don't have very much money. But is their opinion valuable on gymnastics? It's extremely valuable. And sometimes even on other things, even though they don't have money. So success is what's valuable. And look, when you're young and new, you don't have a lot of success. Your opinion is not very valuable yet. That doesn't mean it's not valuable to your family. It's not valuable to your friends. It is not valuable economically yet until you know something. And how you really show you've known something is because your successful track record shows that you know something.
I mean, that could work, just to play devil's advocate there. It could work the opposite way, in which if you are 23 and you have been in finance in any which way for 4 or 5 years versus somebody that is maybe has a bit higher paying job, their specialty is, I don't know, in the medical field, and they're really, really good at that. And maybe they're worth a couple $100,000 just because they have a high paying job in the medical field. Obviously, I would take their advice on, what to do for any different ailments or diseases. But, if I want to go and listen to someone in this new field of some type of fintech, whatever, and they've been in the industry, even if they don't have enough money, they do have that experience. It's like, hey, you have this baseball player who's been playing for 20 years, but then you have this basketball player who's been playing for 3 years. Yeah, that baseball player might have more experience in sports in general, but not at this specific thing. So I just want to go in.
Yeah, thanks for the clarification. And David makes a good point here, kind of. I bring in almost 2K daily MCP. Thing is, you like to listen to yes men that are down 90%, but can keep buying. It's okay. You can go apologize later for making childish assumptions. I would never call my assumptions childish, but sometimes I make assumptions that are incorrect. Why? Because I have to go off the information that there. And sometimes I can ask further questions to the guests that are here and get an immediate response. But in the chat, it doesn't turn around so quickly. So it's not about hearing from yes men. It is about hearing, like, if we were just looking for yes men, we wouldn't even bring up all the FUD comments that come in. And I know a bunch of them are in a Telegram group and they tell each other when the streams are live and they're like, hey, get in so that they can come in and FUD together. And it gets a little bit annoying when half the comments are from the same 3 people. They're in the same Telegram group that like to circle jerk each other about how terrible things are going with VeVe. Cool. We'll address them a little bit. Is that to dominate the stream? Look, I've been through these patterns before. I've been through these patterns prior to crypto in real estate. In 2010, you could buy a 3-bedroom, 2-bath in Phoenix, Arizona for $50,000 that had been built in 2005. So it's 5 years old. You could buy it for $50,000. That 3-bedroom, 2-bath probably sold for $250,000 and was now at $50,000. And guess what? There was endless number of people running around complaining about how terrible the real estate market was, how bad it was everyone's fault, and it was this and it was that, and complaining. The smart people that I knew said, okay, yeah, this problem happened. And they were finding creative ways to buy 3-bedroom, 2-baths that are now worth, those same ones in Phoenix, about $300,000. And they were buying them at $50,000. They were renting them out for $1,000 a month. So cycles happen, not just in crypto, but it happened in real estate, it happened in stocks. I saw Amazon be down. Like, Amazon blew up for about 4 years and then absolutely crashed and was down for about 10 or 15 years from that. And now is massively up from those lows. So these cycles happen in every industry. In crypto, because of that Bitcoin halving, that happens in 4 years. And it happens more predictably than any other market I've ever seen. And so it's still in that down period. And a lot of people who are complaining massively right now, They came in 2021 when things were high, or even 2022. And so now they're massively down. They're not acting rational. They're acting emotional and frustrated. That's why even when you address their concerns, they then jump to another concern. Why? Because they're acting completely emotional, and they're trying to code it with logic as to why their emotions make sense and why their emotions are justified. Cool. I'll spend a little bit of time addressing that. It's not worth going past it because you're not going to fix the problem for them. What's going to fix the problem for them is that the market in 6 months or 9 months goes absolutely crazy. And there's some that are in that have already sold out. There's some that are just in despair that haven't sold out, and they're just hoping that Rain is right on this. And then it'll go right, and they'll be like, oh my gosh, Rain was right on this. And so those people will continue to stick around, and they'll have learned about the 4-year cycle, and they'll be massively benefited. The other people, unfortunately, will have learned about the 4-year cycle, will not have benefited from it, and they'll probably not be able to like swallow some crow, and they'll probably just go away rather than being like, oh my gosh, I finally get the 4-year cycle, and then stick around and buy the following bear market when things are down again, when people are jumping in the comments saying how if the team had done this right, prices would be up and not down, because that's going to happen again. 3 and 4 years from now, same thing's going to be happening all over again.
I think it's interesting. Like VeVe as a project is in better shape than it's ever been at any point. And yet in the last 12 months, we've heard so many complaints on various things, right? And you compare that to late 2021, where VeVe wasn't near as far as it is now, honestly. And yet there were few complaints. And really the difference is price. When the price is up, people are celebrating, people are happy. The project could be terrible. I'm not saying VeVe is, but the project could be terrible. And as long as the price is up, they must be doing something right because the price is up. And now that price is down, it's like, well, they must be doing something wrong because the price is down. And they use the price to indicate if the project is strong or not, rather than identifying where they're at in the cycle and understanding what's going on, on a larger scale. So, I think people will keep complaining, honestly, and keep complaining until the price changes, and they'll just change what their complaint is, right? They said there's no new exchanges. We've gotten 2 new exchanges. The price didn't really budge that much. So now they're on to the next thing to complain, because the real problem they have is just the price hasn't changed yet. Until that does, they'll just keep complaining.
Well said. That's exactly the case. Sketch Labs says something interesting. Curious what they think, or not that. Where was it? Dun, dun, dun.
Hello, Sketch Lab. He's awesome.
Leon says, I want to listen to millionaires, yet you have a guy in here, 300K in debt, living with others. Well, if you watch my channel frequently, and this comes from my mentor who is worth $200 million, he talked about his cash burn ratio, right? So smart people keep their cash burn ratio as low as possible, especially when they're investing and they're growing their wealth. So one of the principles of investing is wealth is it's not what you make, it's what you keep. And so a doctor might be making $500,000 a year and be spending $600,000 a year, and he's actually worth negative. So it's not dumb to get your cash burn ratio as low as possible so that you can invest, especially during a bear market. That's not a sign of low success. That's a sign of a really smart person building for massive success. The reason why I think Randy is so credible is you're missing the bigger picture. He bought Pokemon when everyone was fighting Pokemon, and he made a fortune on it. He then rolled that into Tesla when everyone was saying Tesla was so high and it would never go higher, and then it went 7x. So Randy has an amazing track record of success in different fields of recognizing these patterns that are going to happen. And if you can't see that, it's because you're not trying to see it. Cool. You don't want to see it. Cool. Is Randy worth millions yet? Well, I don't know. He has 180, 190 million Omi. I have a guess at what that's going to be worth in 6 to 12 months. I think he's going to be just fine.
Also, later on he says, I only speak facts, but I don't have any debt. And you say I'm 300,000 in debt. So clearly you don't always speak facts.
Yeah. I don't know where he got the 300,000 in debt, but cool. We just making up numbers here. That's cool.
I like that guy down there. He says, I like VeVe so much that it upsets strangers. I forget who's thought that was fun.
That's awesome. Great conversations, guys. Thank you. Cosmo spitting facts, says Dr. Stuff. True. G Money is I'm buying comics. Who's buying comics? What do you guys think of the new comics? Like a lot of these things where there's 1,000 mints and they're also brand new comics. You guys do anything with those?
I bought a couple last night. Really just because I like Jango Fett. You know, like everyone in the 80s just loved Boba Fett just from the Star Wars, and here you have like you find out, okay, Boba Fett's actually a clone, and who was the original? It's Jango Fett. So I thought that was really cool. So I got that, and then I got the another one this morning, Darth Maul, red, black, and white, #1. I think what a lot of people are doing right now is because scarcity is king on VeVe, they're going for things that are scarce, which is fine. That's great for short-term flips. That's great for short-term whatever. But a lot of what we're getting on the new comics that are 1,000 or 1,500 mints, they're really not great comics. They're like kind of D-tier comics, and I think people are selling a lot of these key issue comics or their more grailier comics, and they're trying to buy these, and I think that's going to be a big learning curve for them in the future. We're like, oh, maybe I shouldn't have done that. I mean, just because it's scarce doesn't mean it's going to be great in the long term.
It takes a combination of those things, scarcity plus desirability. So if it's really low on desirability, the scarcity will impact a little bit, but it's probably not going to see a really big boom. But if they find something that's scarce and highly desirable that people aren't really recognizing yet why it's going to be so desirable, and they're right on that, that may boom. But if they're selling grails, like some of these new ones seem interesting to me, but I'm like, I don't know, because I'm having a hard time gauging their desirability because we have no track record on them. Whereas we can look at some of the comics that came out forever ago, like the Amazing Fantasy 15, and we have a very good track record on that. And we know what its desirability is, and we actually know what its present digital version scarcity is.
I think in my turn, I haven't been going so much for the VeVe comics lately on those. I did the first drop because I just like wanted to participate in the good vibes there. But mostly I've still just been stacking the grails, honestly. A lot of the commons grails, just stacking them as much as I can. It's been my play.
Yeah. Cool. Some funny comments.
So there's I was on Reddit today, and on Poke Investing, where you just talk about what you're investing in on Pokemon. Someone says, I traded with a guy, and this is how the box came. There was supposed to be a BGS10 Moonbryon and a PSA 10 Gengar VMAX, and the box came empty. And just kind of just goes to superiority that digital collecting has when you're in an enclosed environment like VeVe. Hey, you put something up for sale, someone spends the gems, those gems are in your account in seconds. This person had to wait, I assume, 7 to 10 days in order for him to get the product, only to find out that he had been robbed. And now hopefully he can get maybe some of his money back, depending on where they did the deal. Maybe it was PayPal, maybe it was whatever. But yeah, that type of thing doesn't really happen on VeVe.
Yeah, exactly. Digital collectibles are superior to physical collectibles in that aspect. And I think in several aspects. Physical collectibles are superior in one definite way, is that you can actually touch it, you can hold it, you can open the box should you ever want to open the box, and you can play with it. But oh my gosh, then the value is probably nerfed to heck. And so digital collectibles, though, have an online marketplace that you could sell to anywhere in the world with no shipping problems, and the buyer knows they're actually going to get that item, and it happens right away. What did you guys think of the Marvel Mighties drop and the Venomized drop? That was an interesting one. Did you guys participate?
Yeah, I did. I collect all the Mighties. So what I didn't really like is just all of them at once. I like Mighties when they're like once every 8 weeks or once every month, whatever it was. But we got a new set on Saturday. Then we got the Venom symbiote the next day, and then with the ability to crap. So it was just a lot in just 2 days. That was great for VeVe. They made like $250,000 that weekend, but it was just a lot for one thing. It costs maybe like $500-600, whatever, which is a lot for. I mean, I could do it, but everyone that not everybody that likes some IDs is able to do that. So they might have gotten a little salty about that.
Yeah. It did seem like a lot, right? So I didn't participate in it. Like, I think like I'm probably like 25% collector or less and 75% or greater investor. And I thought, with this coming out, it's really cool. I want to own them, but probably the hype will kind of die away and they'll get much cheaper in the future. So I'm just going to wait.
Yeah, I agree. Honestly, I didn't participate in it either. I bought a symbiote off the market just to have. It was 5 gems. I bought a couple of the Marvel Mighties that I liked out of the bunch. But again, yeah, I've kind of been putting money either into OMI or into other NFT or other NFT and crypto projects. But also I've been trying to just stack the grails while they're not in the limelight right now. Honestly, there's quite a number of them that just aren't being cared about, talked about. The price continues to drop. And I'm like, that's kind of where I'm spending some of my funds there is, away from the limelight.
Yeah. Away from the limelight. What's not shiny anymore? Like I bought some more Darth Vaders and some more Boba Fett's. Why? Because they were really shiny like a year and a half ago, and people have forgotten about them, and like they moved on to the new shiny thing, and the price on those have gotten really low. And so I like to buy low. Will they ever be worth a lot? Probably. I was covering in March of 2021. I probably lost half of my Cardano audience for covering this new company project called VeVe. And I was talking about Batman and the first Batman on the blockchain. And they told me how stupid I was for covering Batman and why didn't I get back to this serious stuff. But I'm like an investor, and I thought first Batman on the blockchain, this $80 thing will probably be worth a whole lot more in the future. Well, it turns out I was right there. And that later became like, I didn't even know how to pronounce it when I was covering it. I called it VeVe because there were no videos on YouTube about VeVe telling me how to pronounce it right or even covering it at all. And I thought I'd found this amazing thing that would be worth a lot. So like, I don't know, like I'm here for the value. I think Darth Vader will do pretty well. I was right on the Batman. That doesn't mean I'm right on the Darth Vader. Doesn't mean I'm right on the Boba Fett. Just probably right.
After this weekend, I was also a little upset because I was if you go on Stacker and you have a bunch of leaderboards up there, who has the most golden moments, who has the most sub 100s of, DC. So I went to look at Marvel, and normally I'm number 2 on there for people that have sub 100 mints of all of Marvel. And I went to show off to people in Arizona, and I've been dethroned. Big Bad Buckeye, who's a level 100, has 140. And he's number 2, and I am only at 139. So, little upset there for that.
And we're gonna have some like Saudi prince. I hope some Saudi princes come in, and they push. They'll push me way down the leaderboards, and that's okay because my overall value will go up tremendously if that happens. Steamboat Mickeys are low right now too. I know, and I bought some more like not too. I guess it was like 6 months ago when they were cheap, and they've gotten cheaper. It's a good price. And I'm having a hard time because like you only have so much liquid funds to buy everything when it's cheap.
Hit the light there.
All right. One other thing I wanted to ask about was the secret rare Ecomi group. But I wanted to discuss that. No. Both of you gentlemen are in it. How are you finding that discussion? Are you finding the discussion there valuable? Because obviously these people have been around for a while, or they just bought into the group, but many of them got the airdrop secret rare logo. How are you finding those discussions?
I know for me, like that was the whole reason why I ended up getting into these groups to begin with. I bought my gold logo off the market. I think the floor was around like 2,800 or so when I got it. And it was because I wanted to be able to kind of build relationships with people that have been successful or that were passionate about this project and kind of get to know a core part of this community and be a part of that. And so Ecomi Secret Rare logo has been no different. It's got a number of crossover people from the gold logo group, and it's got a bunch of new ones. And it's been awesome to hear the introductions of where people are coming from, the careers they have, the knowledge. And so I've loved being a part of that group.
Nice. If you didn't have one at all, but you knew how the group was, would it be worth buying one at the current floor?
I did buy one at the current floor. And as I mentioned before, it was to match my VeVe Gold logo one. But yeah, it comes down to what you want, you know, like, do you want to participate in those relationships and build those? Because you're going to get that in this group, and you're going to be able to kind of get more involved in the alpha calls that they're starting. That was super fun to hear the first alpha call with Dr. Profit, and kind of hear just his thoughts on things. I loved being a part of that personally. So it's all what you want on what it's worth to you. But so far, I mean, I can say I did buy it at the current floor. I've got multiple logos, and I love being a part of the group.
Yeah, absolutely. A good group. Sanjay's doing good things. The floor's right now at $15.99 for edition 479.
Yeah, I try to do what I can, but shout out to Dr. Stuff and Mr. MC1 for really kind of being like the leaders in that space, making it real. Like, I think there's the action, the conversation is about, as far as activity, the levels are pretty much the same, but there's a Venn diagram of people that, you know, they have both the Secret Rare logo and the for VeVe and Ecomi. But it's wild the amount of people, where they're from, and the specialties that they're at, and they don't just love VeVe and Ecomi. It's like, hey, we think this is a really good investment, and it's not from just the same. Like, there are a lot of people that are silent there that either don't have Twitter or they're very inactive on Twitter. It's really impressive to see.
Yeah, it is funny. Like, these people that we see in there, right, who are very silent, they never show up on these streams. If anything, they possibly watch it on replay later, but they don't show up with comments in the streams. Why? Because they're probably busy, very busy in their day lives, because many of them are like very accomplished people. And in the stream, you hear their bios and other things that they're doing. It's absolutely amazing. Interacting with people like that is a lot of fun. Cool. Well, that concludes everything I want to talk about. Cosmo, any final words before we wrap up?
No, I just want to say thank you for having me on. I've enjoyed and thank you, like Rain and Doc, honestly, for getting me into all of this. It took you a little while. I finally started to dive in, and it's been so much fun. I love where things are going. I love being a part of the community and hearing the good, the bad, the ugly, and just being a part of it all. It's been a blast. So thank you. And thank you again for having me on.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. It was giving us a couple hours of your time. It was good. I think you added a lot of value here.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, Cosmo, thanks for joining. I hope all of you get to know Cosmo better. Follow him on Twitter, Crypto Cosmo, specifically
17.
Crypto Cosmo 17 on Twitter. Cool.
Preach. All right, bye guys. Thanks
I just
all.
want to share some closing thoughts. Look, we tried to address some of the FUD and concerns, and to a certain point, the squeakiest wheels, I don't want to address them all the time because they're the loudest, but that doesn't mean just because they're the loudest, like what they have to say is the most important. Well, maybe I'm rude and I'm like not giving everyone a thought, but like the same people posting 15 times with different things of FUD, it just gets old to address. There are plenty that are here that are watching it that aren't saying anything, that don't want to waste their time with comments and talk on that. Why? Because they understand the 4-year cycle and where this is going. I know with my particular audience, I talk about the 4-year cycle a ton and have kind of shared the bigger picture where this is going. A lot of people who might be watching this, they've only tuned into VeVe talk. They don't understand like the 4-year cycle in crypto. So they're confused at why Omi's token could still be down for 3 years straight. And they're just scared that it won't ever come up. And they don't understand the cyclical patterns of crypto and how the bull run happens, how it then cascades into crypto in general. Cool. I am coming out with a free course soon that you can take. It'll be free. It's actually $200, but I'll be giving out 500 codes for people to get that for free. so that all these people can take it free, where I kind of paint the bigger picture of why it's that way. For those that are curious to know. Now, probably some people that are FUDing, they're not even curious at this point. They're just emotionally hurt and frustrated. And that happens. It does suck to come into something and then the price goes down, then it goes down some more, and it goes down some more. And you just feel like you've been kicked in the ribs 72 times and you don't want to hear anything. Like you're not, because you're just hurt. And you know, I see a lot of that in the crypto space. People tend to come in at highs because it feels like nothing can ever go wrong. And then it does. And then it does some more. And then it goes bad some more. And when you don't understand the bigger 4-year cycle, it gets real scary about year 3 because it feels like it'll never turn around. Then suddenly it does. And we're right at that point, right? So the FUD is the highest right now. Cool. The turnaround is also the closest. Thanks so much, guys. See y'all soon.
Meow, meow.
Thanks.